All right, at this point, I'd like to start the meeting with the president's report. Mr. Starks, our president, is not here this evening. He extends his apologies for missing tonight's meeting. He is obligated to attend a Miller Township meeting, which he is on the board of commissioners for that's board. We have had several questions come to us through the community forum. We answer these questions as quickly as possible. Some questions require research and may take a bit more time than others. But we do respond as quickly as possible, and we encourage you to use this resource to get your questions answered. If you read through the questions and answers already posted, you will find a great deal of information. If we do not understand and do not fully answer your questions, please ask again. We will do our best to answer all questions from any and all HBL members. During the July meeting, it came to your attention that the HBL POA Board of Directors had been referred to the Indiana State Attorney General's office for supposedly missing funds. As mentioned, our attorney has asked that we do not discuss this. However, I can tell you once again that we gathered all the information that was presented to you in our May and June meetings, along with our outside auditors' reports, copies of the echoes, etc., and sent them to the State Attorney General. We have confirmed that those items were received, but we have not been advised as to what the next step may be. Once we are advised, we will share this information with you. I'm sorry, but we cannot take questions on this issue until it has been resolved. I will also mention that as soon as this current board was established, your treasurer, Jeff Buell, asked that we work together to limit spending and immediately began to research how to better recognize and communicate our current financial condition. The result is how his report is currently being structured, and he is continuing to work on improving all aspects of our finances. Thank you, Jeff. On another subject, an auxiliary hood vent is located on the front of Willie's Restaurant Roots, and it has been brought up in this meeting because it looks pretty terrible. Steve at Willie's has offered the following information. He contracted a company to inspect, clean, and repair the vent as necessary. They were told to contact Steve so that he could be present during the cleaning and inspection. That did not happen, and it appears they serviced the wrong vent by mistake. The cleaning and repair is scheduled but still in process. The same people also do HVAC and are probably backed up on AC calls. Once the repair is complete, the shingles are on hand and will be replaced. For additional information, Steve tells us the roof vent and roof have been seen and inspected by the Board of Health and the Greendale Fire Department. Neither had any issues with it as a fire or safety issue. The Willie's annual fire inspection comes from the Department of Homeland Security and was completed on August the 1st of this year. Once again, there were zero issues there. Willie's has a cleaning company that cleans the inside of the hood system quarterly, and they were just there within the last few weeks. On another subject, we apologize to those of you who have endured road damage over a long period of time. We are trying to get these issues corrected as the fiber installation teams complete their work. We recently repaired Longview Drive near the intersection of Alpine. Concerning the smaller streets where there are still issues, we have not forgotten and plan to repair those as soon as possible after the fiber work is completed in those areas. If you are aware of any issues with our roads, please use Quick Fix app to photograph and send pictures with the location. And if you have questions, please use the community forum. Thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you all at the September meeting. Robert Starks. All right, at this point, Jeff, would you like to, give a treasurer review, please?
Thank you, Ken. Okay, so these figures are going to be rounded off to the nearest dollars. Cash position is of June 30th, 2023, 237,451. Cash position is of July 31st, 2023, $791,619. And being that has been 3 weeks away from here, I always come up and give you something within this week. I think Tuesday was this figure. So as of August 23rd, 2023, the cash is right now at $984,418. The end of July operating funds, which is the cash that in day business and payroll, $667,983. Emergency funds were $123,676. Escrow is $0, and the capital expenses for July was the Crystal Lake aerator put in. That was $5,890. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right. At this time, we have the escrow reserves future considerations. It would be road paving, ongoing replacement of vehicles, security, maintenance, equipment, aging buildings and maintenance, erosion control, technology for all departments. Note that all amounts are rounded to the nearest dollar. hvlpoa plans annually for a balanced budget. Annual expenses are planned not to exceed anticipated annual income. Some frequent expenses are predictable, such as replacement of vehicles, maintenance of our roads, many lake dams, swimming pool liner, lake dredging, etc. Funds are reserved each year to cover these future expenses and are included in the total. Projected cash at year end is generally equal to $0 plus reserve funds for above mentioned expenses as well as necessary reserves. Reserves include 2 months of operating capital for asset purchases and architectural bond payments to be refunded. All financials will be audited by an outsider auditor annually. Any questions on that? Yes, Wayne, anyone given a after the question with the overhead microphone, you don't need to hold on, but please give us your lot number and name.
Okay. So Ken, let's see, Wayne Meyer, lot 2214. That note that you have on the board there, where can we find that?
That's also in the agenda. In the agenda.
Okay, but where is it at? I mean, it's a nice definition. Where's it at?
Where
Is
it's
it
on
in
the agenda.
Is it in your operating manual? Is it in the bylaws? No?
I don't know that answer. So again, we can look that up.
Thank you. I was just thinking, because it's a nice definition that we can use to really inform.
I mean,
Wayne, that's basically what we put at every meeting. That is part of the report. I might not go and read it. That says that with this,
and the agenda is definitely a part of the meeting minutes.
Well, I'll do my question later on.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyone else, please? All right, Donald, secretary's report, please.
I would like to ask for a motion to approve the July 2023 board meeting minutes. Thank you. All in favor?
I would like to say something about that.
Yes, sir.
The
Your name and your number.
Al Jewis, 1604. There is nothing in the minutes about people that brought up suggestions, made things about things that may not look right. There is nothing about anybody that brought anything up contrary to what the board like.
Well, was it on the audio? We summarize these minutes. We do not do word by
Your
word.
audio, you couldn't understand hardly anything.
I know we did have problems last.
So therefore, I think it should be in minutes. So people are aware of what's taking place.
We'll take that under consideration.
We will.
Thank you, sir.
Going forward, we can't, but the audio was not,
But you can't approve these if there's changes that are.
we can't change these because we don't have any other information.
I think they're saying
Is there any
caveat.
notes?
Yeah.
Then we can make a caveat on the notes, on the minutes, yes, that there, the audio was not,
Again,
that we have the,
board members motion to approve.
I think it was.
Ken, so give it, enough about what you guys are talking about. When more than one person talks, people online can't hear. So make sure that you do not talk over each other. I'm getting feedback that when multiple people talk, they can't hear. So please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Mr. Western, community manager's report at this time.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to start off with a request to approve the annual deer call. This year it will be following the standard archery season of October 1st through January the 7th.
Can I ask a question?
Do that hanging on. We have to at least put
A motion forward first.
I'll second it.
Just a quick question.
Your name and your map.
Julie Hewitson, and according to the bylaws, I don't have to give my lot. I was in charge of the task force that brought the call to the community. You know, some people it's controversial if people like it or not. The deer have multiplied to the point where I think this is very valid. We need to do it. There's deer getting sick in people's yards. I hope people understand that I love animals. And I really think we need to do it in a more aggressive way this year. I also think we haven't had a flyover in 6 years. According
We had a flyover
to what my
early 2021.
okay, it's not in your records.
One out of the six.
Okay, 1 out of the last 6. Okay, I really think this year it's kind of imperative so we can see where we're at on that deer population, so we can monitor how many. 50 deer may not be enough. So I think the first snow we probably ought to have a contracted flyover company. I know it's like $600.
They're on the go and ready.
Okay,
We have
okay. So you have them ready to go. All right.
Over the last few years, they haven't reached 50 though, with all the active
Well,
people
we
doing it.
have,
What was the number of days?
Yeah.
if we put out a call to have archers come in, maybe from other parts of the county,
We do have more archers coming in this year. This is our pre-qualification.
Okay, right.
So we will have more this year.
Yeah, I know you qualify them, and I think that's a great idea.
The flyover is not necessarily going to give us the best numbers. That's the issue we ran into in 2021, if you remember. I think we discussed it.
I think they're the
So what we've got the same thing. We've got a lot of anecdotal information. Since 2021, the security has been letting us know kind of the rough idea. We've also asked residents to give us that information. The deer call hunters themselves have been asked to, if they do call one deer, how many other deer do they see at that time?
Right.
Those kinds of things to try to get a better handle on the numbers.
because every doe has at least 2 fawns every year.
Not necessarily. Can I make a comment here, Dave?
I said
Yeah.
that believe.
I do want folks to know that this did come up, and I'd be curious to hear folks' opinion at some point. It is not free to do a flyover. Does anyone think that the deer population is lower?
Is that call for 50 in my yard?
Well, so anyway, we all know the financial condition.
Get an audio.
We all know the financial condition that we're in. Do you want us to spend money flying equipment in the air to count deer?
No.
No.
Fun.
Just to adjust the one.
Ken Hart, you want to?
Yeah, it's a 760.
Yes, sir.
For the last 2 years, the phone number's gone down.
Yeah.
You think maybe that's because there's last year? Cause I drive a lot around here and I've seen nothing else here. I've never seen a sick deer in my yard or anybody else.
I don't think the reason for the call is for sick deer, but for the overall population of that.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is your numbers are going down. Numbers are down.
There's not overall.
We're way over what is allowed and what should be in this area. We've never even come close to that. And so we're not worried about trying to get down to the super low number, but we're still probably close to double.
Sir, do you have a question? Name and lot number, please.
Right,
Yes,
I don't really have a question, but I have a concern about it.
yes, sir.
That I'd like to bring up. I live on Fieldcrest. And right after I moved into this community, probably 6 years ago, 7 years ago now, there was a gentleman that pulled up in a pickup truck right there by Castle Lake, got out of his truck, brought back his bow to shoot a deer that had just crossed the road toward the green space, but the deer hadn't quite made it into the green space. I happened to live in it. I laid in the hospital when I was a young man, from a young man that got shot by an arrow that went through his stomach and out of the back. He's been in the hospital over 200 days. I'm taking my leave right now. That concerns me. So I don't know how you qualify these folks to come in here and hunt. I understand the deer call. My part of it is the safety of it. Absolutely, that's not fun. I've hunted my whole life, both ways, gun and bow. That's not good.
I know you're absolutely
That's not
correct.
good anywhere from there, from across the river. That's my concern. I understand here.
You're absolutely correct. Hey, if you see something, say
qualified
something.
these folks that are fighting
One at a time.
that, I would have been a very upset camper keeping these step brothers. I was upset that one. I went to find the sheriff, but that's my piece on
I
that.
appreciate your eyes on it and let us know what you see in there.
I was kind of, warded off, but I'm just saying that's the concern.
Appreciate it. Ma'am, what do you have?
And I'm on a green belt. And I agree with this man on the state because I've been hunting since I've been a little girl. Yeah. And when you're doing archery, you don't shoot unless you're for sure, and you never shoot over open water. To me, if you're gonna hunt, you need to be a resident, number one. Number two, you need to be able to pass the archery test and all the education. You have to know about it. If you can't gut your deer, what are you gonna do with it in a holler behind you? If you have green woods behind you and nothing else, and they're not building them, like my house. So to me, safety is number one, but also control. Deer control is what it's about. It's not always about slaughter or any of the above.
Right.
That's all.
And I appreciate that Mr. Wisfin, our manager, he manages the deer call. He's very on top of it. The people really aren't out there just willy-nilly just shooting arrows everywhere they can. It really is an organized activity. You're going to have, hopefully, not errors, but like the gentleman there said, that guy shouldn't have been doing that. So they keep your eyes open, but Dave is on top of it, and he does manage it. And it's a necessary event here, so.
Just so you're clear, the rules are clearly defined in the bylaw. And this was a lengthy process. They did a lot of study and a lot of work went into setting this up. So we're following the same rules they've had for many years. A lot of the hunters have been here for a long time. So this is not their first.
The other question, are they using crossbows or are they using compound?
We do have both.
See, I don't agree with that. should be compounded.
Mr. King, another question.
Yeah, that's helpful, but
All right,
how much do we
So
spend every
again,
year?
you're gonna have to give your lot number, because we are trying to catch everything.
You said the last one. Ken card, 2679, I think. How much do we spend a year on corn? And is it legal? Because it's not legal in Indiana to bake.
We don't bait them at all. We can't bait.
You've never given out corn to PLA?
Not me. I don't think that's
all right. Well, Jeff first said the motion, I second it. Board members, would you like to vote on approving the deer park?
I,
Aye. That motion carries 4-0, please.
Okay. Thank you. All right. And thank you for the questions. That's something that, we don't usually have groups this large. It's great to hear from everyone. Great to hear that you reported your incident. Good to hear, other objections. And I've taken notes for that. So, golf course report, the weather continues to be friendly to golfers around or exceeding previous years. Still in a summer period that it's opening at 7 in the morning at the golf course. The office is going to be closed here at the POA on Monday, September 4th for Labor Day. Fiber optics, SEI, REMC has begun installing fiber in homes. They've started contracts, or started setting up the season. I think contracts is not the word there. The project to install main lines continues as well as the restoration of yards. And at this point, the restoration is not a final restoration. The first restoration just covers the levels up. And this Rich here has really taken this on as his project. He volunteered to do this as far as being your representative to the fiber company. Any of the complaints we get as far as the installations and things he works on, he puts a lot of effort into it. And just so you know, he's kind of your representative to these companies. We've gone through several people with the various companies we deal with. There's an engineering firm called NRTC. They have the red trucks. They're not the compliance guy for mold on your house. It's another kind of red truck. Anyway, they do the overall engineering for the whole project. And then there's a group with SEI Data who are installing the actual communications lines, fiber optics, and REMC is a part of that coordination with SEI Data. So and then you have your subcontractor and your contractor. So sometimes it gets a little bit, tedious for him to go finding out who to talk to try to get things straightened up. On top of that, we have some of these locations that are very tricky. I call them confunction junctions. I've run into maybe 8 so far, and you have everything that comes together at one spot. You got water, you got sewage, you got gas, you got electric, you got phone lines, you got the fiber coming in, and those can be tricky for these companies to deal with. And sometimes that results in a larger problem with a water line that's hit or something like that. And it may take longer for those particular areas to be straightened out. But Rich does a lot of work on trying to manage that. Once everything on the main line is done, we will be pushing them to complete these checklists and make sure that everything's done. They made the promise to restore everything back to at least the way it was, so we're going to hold them to that promise. Just so you know. Our maintenance team is still evaluating the yard waste project. I don't know if any of you have looked at what was left after they shredded, but it looks pretty good. We're looking at options, just taking the shreddings out I'm not an expert at that. I thought we could just take it out and start putting it on the trail and putting it on, in different places. That's not, probably the best way to utilize that. You're supposed to let it sit and go through a process of at least a year. So we're looking at all the options that we can do with that, with the product on a long-term basis. In the short term, it may be that we just have what's shredded removed from the property, clean it up. I want to go again in November and have another opportunity for people to take their yard waste down, pile it up, chip it up. There's a delivery fee and an 8-hour minimum on the equipment that we have come in. So we've just touched the surface with that big pile of yard waste that we reduced for the cost. So we have some room to actually increase capacity and things like that. So we're looking into all the options. Just thought for some reason, board day is the day that everybody comes in with all kinds of ideas, and it's kind of the hardest time to get all that stuff together. But today we just had several options that came, and we're still, looking into those things. So I think Al
Hewitt from 1604. Probably 15 or 20 years ago, we bought 26 acres up on State Line Road. And as far as I know, the only thing we've ever used it for is dump some muck from the dredging. Would that be a good place for this?
It may be a good place to store it temporarily, and I've got to look into that. That is one of the things we thought about. As far as us taking the yard waste there individually, I would be against that because it's
no, but you're talking about you didn't really know where to go with this.
Right.
You got 26 acres up there that we've never done anything with.
Right. One of the things we have to be careful about is leaking the contents into the water system. So it's as I said, we're still looking at those options. Yeah.
Julie Mason, lot 2224. I was down at the garden yesterday, and there is a dumpster there, but it says not to use it. Is the thought to put the mulch in that, or for some other
Just to
purpose?
remove it.
Okay.
Our first part there is to see, because there are weight limits. So they wanted us to fill up one with the mulch, see how much weight that was. They'll give us how much cost that is. It's like $35 a ton. There's a pickup fee, then the tonnage fee, and then we'll see if that makes sense. Our goal here is to reduce the cost of what we're used to doing with yard waste. That's the overall.
And there is signage saying don't use it, but I'm down there a lot, and I've seen lots of people put lots of things in it that says don't do it. I haven't seen that yet on this one.
Yeah.
I was just hoping you would mention it here so more people know.
Yes, please do not
Please
use
do not do that, because I've seen it overflowing and people still throw more stuff in and so.
What I see
And the
overall,
no dumping sign and still, so.
what I see overall, we can have a pretty good system if everyone knows when it's available. I'll tell you, the biggest complaint I've gotten over that yard waste dumpster is that it's always full. And I see a lot of heads shaking in the room right now, and not just full one time, but full every single time I go down there. The thing's full, and it's always something. So we're trying to avoid that.
Right.
As I said, we have a lot of capacity to take in a lot of yard waste at a single time. And if we can get that done at maybe 2 times a year, spring and fall, we can and kind of develop a pattern here. I think we can, you can get what you want. We can be able to utilize the material and have it at a decent cost.
And just one other thing, if you can clarify, I know at least a few months ago, you addressed the topic of how Greendale has where you just bring everything out to the yard and they clean it all up for you. There's no extra cost. Can you just state that would be very expensive here, or let people know the issue with that?
Yeah.
Why we don't do that here?
Yeah, and
again, overall this budget thing, we talk about amenities, about, what we want, things like that. And someone once told me, and we used to joke about, who left the dome undone on the place, because it was raining or it was too hot or whatever. But, you could dome the place. It would cost a lot of money, and, for enough money, you could do a lot of different things. So we have to always take that into account. If we do projects like that, we are committed to have a project cost laid out. Everyone, kind of openly discuss the advantages and disadvantages, and trying to be better stewards as far as that goes. Because you can do that kind of thing, but it's expensive. I know it's expensive for Greendale to send a couple guys around to pick up limbs and things
But
like that.
people don't see a cost on their bill in Greendale that says they're charging for that, but it is rolled into their cost. Even if people don't see it.
You don't know free lunches.
And then finally, the maintenance team has been painting lines. You may have seen on the most critical that we've always thought was around the dam and those big hills, things like that. We get a lot of complaints that the sidelines, especially as they fade, are tough to see. So the team has been doing that. The next step, I think. You've seen, and if you've been following your listserv, they're going up Longview and then hitting Lakeview. We have a piece of equipment. It's something that was purchased several years ago, the little motorcycle-looking thing. So the cost is in the paint, and it's expensive. It's not just regular house paint or anything like that. It's got to last for a while, and it's got to last over tires rolling over and things like that. But our goal is to, especially the main roads in here, to restripe them. So, and some may ask, well, we're planning on repaving and things like that. That's true, but we have to build up the funds to repave. So we figure it's not going to be next year before, it's probably going to be 2025. We're still working on those details as well. So it's something we've been trying to do for a couple of years between the weather and other work that we've had to complete. We haven't been able to get to it, but they're finally able to get to it, and we wanted to take advantage of the dry weather until this morning. Our little surprise we had this morning wasn't in the plant. But any other questions?
I have one comment, Dave.
Yes.
You mentioned the paint is very expensive. Relative to paint, yes, it is not expensive to paint these lines. Don't go away thinking that, we already own the equipment, we're going to paint. This is not a big expense relative to the budget.
Dave, did you touch on safety?
I did not.
Can I please do so?
Yes.
If I can approach the podium?
Sir,
Andy
again,
Snyder, 725.
thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you, Dave. Last month, at the meeting, I announced that was the actual first meeting I attended in the 15 years I lived here. I came here because I had heard what had gone on in the meeting prior. And I felt that it was partly my responsibility too, that maybe things have gone astray. Last month, I made a proposal that we eliminate our security and save well over $400,000. I don't think it was received very well. In the last month, we've been doing a lot of checking into things, investigating. Tim Gallagher and myself have over 50 years of law enforcement. We spent 2 hours yesterday with the sheriff and also the chief deputy here from the county. The deputies that we have working for us right now and the security is a severe liability. And
4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, we had a guardian angel riding with one of our security people. And I will explain. I can't provide the name, I cannot provide the address. And out of respect to Mr. Dave here, he's not allowed to talk about it. Our security deputy was in one of our vehicles, our security. He was in his uniform. He was carrying a gun. He responded to an incident in the valley which involved the fire department. While talking to the firemen, they determined that he had been drinking. Dearborn County Sheriff's was called. He was so intoxicated that they had to transport him to a hospital. They did not transport him to jail. He since then has been charged with 2 counts of ODI. He has been let go from the valley. Again, somebody was riding with him that night. And he struck a car head on going down State Line Road, which they do all the time. He killed maybe a family of 4 and himself. What kind of liability is that? How much is a child worth? How much is a mother worth? If you're talking $20 million, that's $10,000 per homeowner. That's a heck of an assessment. Our security people, I'm sure they want to do a good job. I know one personally. He is retired police officer. But these guys are old. They aren't getting their additional training. And there isn't a whole lot that goes on with it. Okay? In the echoes that was put out on the internet, Bob had several questions that was asked of him. And one of the questions was the liability of our security and also of our deputies. He claims we have liability for our security. I don't know what the cost of it is or how much we have. It might be $1 million, it might be $10 million, I don't know. But he also stated at that time that the 3 police officers from West Harrison, that we were covered under West Harrison's liability. The last 2 days, I have been on the phone and emails to West Harrison town. It's a small town, less than a quarter mile square. They have 3 deputies, which we employ here full time. They work less than 36 hours. That's all they patrol that town is 36 hours. 6 p.m. to 12 midnight. Of the 2 council people that I got a hold of, one was the clerk and treasurer. Their liability does not cover Hidden Valley. And Bob said they did. Now, I don't know. Maybe Bob was given wrong information. He's not here tonight. I'm not going to condemn the man. But right now, unless Dave tells me we have some other police department or agency covering us, we have no liabilities for these deputies. If they go out tomorrow and injure somebody or shoot somebody, God forbid, we are liable in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. The proposal that I'm proposing was drafted between myself, Tim Gallagher, and HR person Sarah, and Julie, and a lot of other people that were concerned about what's going on. Yes, sir.
How long a presentation do you have?
I'm going to give you 5 more minutes, and that's it. Or give you 4 minutes.
You're going to present a presentation on how to fix our security for situation?
I'm going to tell you what my proposal was, yeah.
What you need to do, and I'm not being flippant or, trying to flip you off.
I don't know.
We've set up here on committee structure.
Yes.
If you have a security proposal, you really need to go to the safety and security committee and start there. Whether you, I know you don't want to.
Well,
But that's the system we have set up.
let him talk. Let him talk. I feel,
He's gonna,
Now, hang on.
finish his thing.
I love the volunteers, don't get me wrong. But when you have a safety committee made up of people that are not security people, they're not police, they're not fire, they're not dispatcher, how do they analyze our security? They can't. It's great that they want to volunteer, but they have no history, no background. We had a police officer on that committee, got frustrated and quit. This started to be a financial thing, which should have went to finance, but now it's a liability. And I don't think we have a liability committee, and that's why I think these people on the board, with respect, should take action on this. If one of those policemen tomorrow injures somebody, we aren't covered. And I'm not hearing Dave say anything otherwise.
I'm gonna respond here.
Okay. I've got, like I said, I have 2 council people that have said their liabilities don't cover us. A $20 million lawsuit, roughly $10,000 per family. As we talked to the sheriff yesterday, I sort of outlined what I wanted to do, or what I was suggesting to do. Eliminate our security department, let Dearborn County cover us, okay? If we an event of fireworks, 4th of July events, Halloween, where they need protection for the road, the city manager can hire off-duty deputies. Dearborn County, Lawrenceburg, Greenburg would be happy enough to provide us with off-duty deputies. He would guide them as far as where we want them and what them to do. We pay them an hourly wage. We don't pay tax. There's your check. You're responsible for your own taxes. The boat patrol, the community guy that drives around, checks properties, that would still all be the same. And the community guy, compliance guy, could actually be the one to do vacation inspections of vacation homes. If we have to hire an additional guy to do it, fine. The equipment, the cars, especially the ones with Rangers on it, the equipment would be taken down and sold. The 2 security vehicles, we save for administration. If Ken Horn has to go somewhere, or if Dave Wisman has to go somewhere, they have the administrative car to drive. The 5th one that we hit on here was Dearborn County running radar. This is our only problem. Dearborn County cannot run radar on our streets. We are a private entity. The streets are private. So we aren't going to give our streets to Dearborn County. I would not even say that. As far as the shack, the deputy shack, I would want to turn that over to Dearborn County as a substation. And he was pretty excited about that because he said that officers on this side of the county could use this. And they had in the past, back in 15 years ago, when we actually had deputies. They would come in and sit there and do reports. Very visible to everybody. So this is basically what we're saying, is what we need to do. We can save about $400,000. You keep $100,000 in the budget, and for hiring off-duty deputies. Our camera system, we have a great camera system already set up. We don't need anything else with cameras. That's another thing. I just had to throw that in. I apologize. So that's all I have to say. Any questions?
Sir, we can't answer any questions at this point. You need to.
Okay. Thank you for the comment.
Thank you.
Okay, so I should clarify something. Kind of fair to one of the things said here. Number one, as far as the liability goes, we have liability insurance on our security portion of the team. So the security side, non-law enforcement side, we have liability insurance. We always have. We increased those who have weapons. We have our officers that are police officers that left Harrison. We had to identify them to our insurance company. We pay a little bit extra for that liability. And that happened as a result of this craziness that we've been in with losing the deputy status with a lot of our people. We do have one deputy that's still on our staff part-time. He's a school resource officer. Sometimes they'll use the truck that's the sheriff's department truck. Sometimes he has his own vehicle that is assigned to him by the sheriff's department. As far as the one security officer that went through the unfortunate thing, and just to be honest, What department did you work for?
I was Hamilton County Rangers.
Hamilton County.
Hamilton County Rangers.
Okay, so did they ever have a DUI police officer?
While working?
While working?
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, it's something that does happen. I mean, I lived and my dad was a shooter, so I grew up in the police department. That's not totally uncommon. I know it's just anybody. You know, any department has that. So we try to do what we can. So that can happen anyway.
Yeah, naturally.
Just let me finish that. So as far as the additional training, our guys do receive at least 24 hours a year additional training. It's training that we send them to the Indiana Marshals conference. We've done that for many years. They are trained there by Indiana Academy instructors, people that teach at the Police Academy in Plainfield, Indiana. One of the great things about the Indiana Marshals Conference, very inexpensive training on top of that. We also, and these guys, the ones that are police officers in West Harrison have a responsibility to get at least that training on top of their academy training. So their regular police academy training. So that's annual training. And there's more training that's done as well. So that's the liability thing. We do have liability insurance.
Okay.
So as far as the West Harrison liability, we had a situation where our guys that worked for West Harrison were working for us in an off-duty capacity. Exactly what you were saying about Lawrenceburg, Greendale, Sheriff Department, working here as an off-duty officer, okay? When they work in that capacity, they are covered. When they do police work, they're covered by that police department's insurance. So we had an issue where that actually happened. One of our West Harrison guys, West Harrison uniform, everything else, was working as an off-duty officer. He had discussed it with their attorney and everything else. So he had a traffic stop. And this traffic stop turned into a guy running away from him because he was blind. At that point, he becomes a police officer. As a police officer in Indiana, 24/7, if you run into some kind of a crime, criminal activity, something like that, you have an obligation to interject yourself. You are considered a police officer 24/7. And that was a situation there where he chased down this person. The person somehow claimed that he had some kind of an injury. But he was arrested. He was taken to jail. He had a warrant for his arrest. So at that point, our sheriff went and talked to the prosecutor, went and talked to West Harrison people. And at that time, they shut that down. Our guys are no longer able to work off-duty for Hidden Valley Lakes. It was one incident at the very beginning of even trying the project. So very frustrating, I can tell you from my standpoint, because I thought we had something that could work. So since that time, all of our officers wear a security uniform. They drive a Ranger vehicle. They drive a security vehicle. And we have not been doing traffic stops because those are problems when you're not a police officer, when you don't have a police car. Or at this meeting with the sheriff and prosecutor, I think I reported before, they said we don't want you using red lights and red and blue lights anymore in your police cars. Something we've done even before they were deputies. But that's the situation we're in. So we get to the proposal. It's interesting that the sheriff talked about the sheriff's department covering. That was one of the options that we tried early on with all this. We tried to get deputies, full-time deputies, to work for us part-time. That time they were paid $35 an hour. We had 2 or 3 that covered shifts. And basically there was no more interest in that. We had a lot of open shifts. They went uncovered because we couldn't get the help there. Off-duty officers from other police departments, we did not go down that road because we didn't want to offend the sheriff's department. The thing you got to understand here, and we would fight this with West Harrison. That was kind of is that ever going to happen anyway? A police department's not going to accept that liability if they don't have to. So if they think about it, if Greendale or Lawrenceburg or Dillsboro or Mooresville, West Harrison, any of those think about it, what's in it for them to have an officer up here certified under their department? They pay for the insurance on that person if they do something like you were saying.
What you say for off duty?
For off duty. See what I'm saying? So for the sheriff's department, it makes sense because this is part of the sheriff's territory, you know. But Lawrenceburg they don't have anything to gain here. So if they come into a situation and their police officer who's off duty claims, okay, I made an arrest and now there's a lawsuit, then that's going to be an issue for that department. They're not going to continue to send officers up here because they're afraid of the liability situation. If the ones that benefit are the sheriff's department. So we had problems with the sheriff's department helping us cover at $35 an hour anyway. I went down that road and we went a month very light. So then we even looked at it at a later date at trying to get the sheriff's department to come in. And by then they had raised the rate to $45 an hour. And we found out, as Andy found out, that these officers are not even going to stop a car during that time. We're going to pay them $45 an hour.
Hold it, we're not paying them out of our budget. I'm sorry, this has to be said.
No, sir, you're not allowed to interrupt.
I would be interested who's going to pay them.
We're not, you're going to have deputies in here. We aren't gonna pay them.
The off-duty thing was just on the special holidays.
Right.
You said the off-duty thing was just on special holidays as needed.
Off-duty was just a special thing, so
Okay.
fireworks.
All right. I'll give you that.
Let's say finish it.
So let
Yes,
me,
please.
He asked the question.
so I will ask you another question. I'll ask you another question. Did he have to say how short his department is on deputies at this time?
He said right now 4 during the day and supervisor running. He said if they get to a certain point, he said him or even the chief deputy would come out and patrol.
Okay.
But they're running 4 and a supervisor, so that's 5.
Through the whole county.
Through the whole county.
How many,
No, they don't patrol here because they don't want to be in here. They don't want to be associated with our police.
okay, so the question then is, four deputies. Now I'm telling you, I retired from that department. And the numbers aren't much better than when I left 9 years ago. To see 4 deputies on duty at a time would be, I'm sorry, I don't see it.
What can ours do now?
So these deputies have to cover an entire county. This county goes all the way to Dillsboro, all the way north to St. Leon. You guys know where East Central is.
Joy is back. Joy is back.
I patrolled. I put on over 250 miles a night when I patrolled. I can tell you, and I have recent experience because 9 years ago I was working the patrol shifts, all the shifts, and I was going from call to call. So if there's a thought that you can get patrol, and that's when we had a full component of deputies here. So I challenge that. So the shack, the substation thing. The shack, or the security center, has been called, has The door system controls, there's a badge that you enter into with, was installed by the sheriff department. All their guys have access to that building. It has radio capacity. It has the same computer system. They can do all their reports on it. There's nothing that would be different than now. I don't know why, and I know some of them that use it. It's always been considered a field office or substation for the sheriff's department. We created that agreement back when I was still sheriff. So nothing has changed there, at least on our end. I don't know about the sheriff's end. The final thing that I would say is it's all well and good. It's that way you can save a lot of money and all that kind of thing. But even in this room, how many would you say is in this room? 500 people? Yeah, 500 people in this room? 500 people, 10%. So this is something, in my view, and I will fight for this part. Not necessarily because I'm married to security, but because I think it's the right thing. It would have to be a community vote to do anything different than what we've been doing. So Julie, you had your hand.
Now, wait a minute, Dave. Actually, this young lady has had her name done, but I asked her to wait.
You've been talking about it.
Now, can you have your name and your
block number, please.
Maybe there's something about it. You know, some guys are getting a little crazy here, but I don't. And maybe it's not perfect what Andy come up with, but I'm not going to make part of the thing I'm going to right in the right. But I think he's got some great jump on some ideas. And being that it's like something like a substation, why don't we? Maybe yes, it's accessible, but if you go back to where you said they don't want to be in here, they're not going to use it. I work in the schools every day. I see at least short board activities that you're talking about every day at one elementary school, not the high school, not right. I work in North Dearborn. That's the substation center. They're there. I see them every day. I can tell you that I see 3 in the morning that roll through there, and then during the day. If encouraged to, I think you might get more of this in. So I think it's a great resource that it probably is being underutilized. So that is a great point. The security thing, like the incident you brought up, I kind of was a shock with that only because I've been here for a long time. I was, back in the Ranger, good old G-Dick, the little thing right there. And if I remember correctly, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't remember that security team being allowed or having firearms. So that really set me off. Like, what was I don't remember. So I remember like there was a couple times when I wouldn't get into it, but anyway. My question though is that was one of their complaints that they broke into the game if they were armed. That kind of scared me that there was an armed individual, like a security person that wasn't law enforcement in here, and then that happened. So that scares me. I don't know what happened, but again, my first point was it's been a while. Well, you're saying letting them come through. I don't know any security. Like you were saying, they can't stop cars. They're not doing anything. They're getting all we're doing is their Facebook with all this cars and everything else happening. Our security can't do anything. What good are they doing here anyway? So I guess the point is definitely what are we paying for when we practically paying it detrimental security here anyway? So would it be better to look at options and try and encourage more of the deputy sheriffs coming through here? Because even when they were sheriffs in here and then you're paying them in that, yeah, they can pull a car over, but if you got a ticket in Valley, everybody knows what if you don't live here. What is it go to place what happens and then you go straight to it. So that was what was the point about it. There's a lot there's a lot of things that have to be changed, but I think either revamping, but I think you're right, we're paying for a security system that's really not necessarily worth anything. Not saying that you have to be real totally security, we definitely need to really look at what we're paying for and what we're doing because right now it's just a bunch of cars driving around.
One of the things that I would hint to that is that their job has always been majorly security. The deputy thing was a side thing. It was another way to get them training, to get them more police power, that kind of thing.
But licensed officers, and that's the thing. Like that's really scary that we got a deputy out there. I mean, my dad is still here. It's not my voice. I'd be scared.
I think you have some things confused.
I'm just curious, I mean, like, I don't
Yeah,
like
that's-
now, it's like, to me, it's just.
That's what I'm trying to,
Like, he's not take down, I mean, if you take, it takes down, let's take it,
that's what I'm trying to clarify is, he was actually a reserve at West Harrison. This officer was, so he did have police powers. The thing is, most of,
that incident that happened here fall under them, are we paying them separately? Like, are we paying West Harrison? Again, this is what my other question too, like, we are paying extra, I did payroll this years ago, I'm questioning this. If, for example, if you're saying bring them in on those extra days, and then those work off duty and duty of them being thrown around, and that's what we're worried about. Well, I understand it costs more because they sometimes run overtime and things like that involved. Wouldn't it be better that the police department bills them for those times they're on duty officers than if they were off duty? That's not like, I've got a lot of things going on here with that.
yeah, so, yeah, well, I can tell you, I can give you clarification. This is something that I personally have been involved with since 1996. And even before, when we had a team up here, pretty good people that wanted to have more of a relationship with the police department. When I was elected in 1995, became sheriff, I instituted this reserve program, and we instituted this group. So I'm very much aware of how that part evolved. Okay, it's pretty in depth. There are a lot of different rabbit holes we've tried over all that time to try to get better at what we've done. And we had a pretty good thing going with the sheriff department for around 26 years. The problem was we didn't have a plan B because it didn't happen. No one ever conceived that all of a sudden we would wake up one morning and there would be no deputies. So we didn't have a security car. We didn't have security personnel who, were trained specifically in just security, not the police side. And when you bring someone on as a police officer in that case, it's not an easy thing. You have a process through the sheriff's department that you have to go through. It could take months. You have a process of training that could take months, and those kind of things. And that's even to get a person just to check the doors and stuff. So that's one reason we instituted this security component. But I can tell you, this is mostly a security job. And I can tell you something else. And the last few years of this whole program, it was a revolving door. You probably didn't know many of the deputies as they went through. We had Earl. He's been around forever, but a lot of the deputies, it's just come and go. And I mean, we had some that would be here for a month. You go through all the training, they get on patrol for about a month, and they give you their notice that they're going to one of the other local communities. You can look on any police department around, including the state police. We've got people, that came through here, they cut their teeth here. So, it's more in depth than what we talked about today. And that's why it should go through safety and security. It should go through a process where it's all spelled out. I'm not necessarily against any of it. It's something that the community has to decide on. But it's something, open and transparent. This is one of those things. It was when it was designed before. It was when we had deputies up here, and it should be now.
I just have a
Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to interrupt
Julie
one more
did
time.
since 16:04.
No, I'm going to interrupt one more time. We have a lot of people that want to make statements
I know,
and a lot of questions, so we're going to limit it to 5 minutes each person.
Mine will take a minute.
Okay, one time, and then move on to other people. Okay?
My question is, as far as I know, Woodland Estates, Valley Woods, and there's another, I think, another subdivision up towards Harris or towards Bright, and Bright don't have police officers, right? They don't have their own police officers. My question is, why are we in need of our very own deputies when we have Dearborn County and they service Sugar Ridge was the other one, I'm sorry. Sugar Ridge, Valley Woods, and Woodland Estates. Why do we need our own special people?
Well, Valley Woods is actually Green Bay.
Okay,
So they're controlled by the state.
I understand that, but why? So they're taken care of.
So
Why
many,
do we?
many years ago, that decision was made by whoever in the DOA,
Okay.
really early on.
Can that be
Yeah, that's why I say it should be a community vote.
I think it should be.
People have come to an expectation. You know, any of your amenities, that's kind of an amenity to have extra security.
That's $500,000.
You know, if you want to shut those things down, you should, you know, it should be something that the community votes on. Tim, I think you had your hand up. Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. First of all, correct. Remember the law, they want to be the safety and security. Gallagher, 367.
Thank you.
And somebody said, I don't have to give my button, but I don't care. Anyway, the safety and security committee, I was on that. So if you're referring people to go to the safety and security committee, it's not going to do any good. I was on it for quite some time. Everything I try to suggest, since I do have a background in security and safety, I was at top for a long time. I was an FBI employee also before that. So nobody wanted to listen to me. Who are you in this room going to call if you need some help? Are you going to call the security people here who can't do a damn thing? Or are you going to call the police? You're going to call 911 if you need help. That's what we're paying taxes for. The sheriff is here with his deputies to help us. That's who patrols everything else around Dearborn County. Like you said, Julie, nobody else has private security. Sugar Ridge is a nice community. They got a golf course, a whole bit. They don't have their own security. We do, but they can't do anything. They're not allowed to pull you over. So if security's behind you and they're putting on a yellow light, keep going. They have the authority to do this thing. They do have authority within here. It's to write a community, a POA ticket. Yeah. Okay. They can stop you.
And they can call Dearborn County.
They've got no rights to stop.
Yes, they do.
Really?
This is a private community. They're private roads that you own.
Okay.
And they're able for you.
We tried to get into the board meeting tonight before this meeting. We were refused. I understand there's some kind of POA law or whatever that says we are allowed to come into the private meeting that you guys have for this.
If I can interject, that was our executive meeting. There was an agenda for that. We did have guests there tonight. We had 2 guests there that were there on appeals of the judicial and an architecture. They were on our agenda. We gave them each 15 minutes time. If you would have requested an executive meeting to be on the agenda, you would have been given 15 minutes also.
Okay, well, I haven't lived here that long. I don't know.
All right, well, then don't act like you would permit you to live, sir. I understand that for a hundred times. We had an agenda that we had to keep.
Okay.
That's all I want to
That's fine. You know, and I appreciate what you guys do, because you're all volunteers just like I was in the state committee. But I finally realized I was wasting my time, and I'd rather have a beer than spend time with my wife than waste my time. And you got I pity you. You got a background in IT. So you're in charge of finances. Wow, that's a hell of a process.
All right, that's understood. We have another gentleman that had a question here.
You guys need to know, if you live here, you've got a right to vote on it. And aren't what these guys driving around? Fine. That's publicizing if everybody that lives here knows what the hell's going on.
Okay, you're set. If you have something you want to say.
Ed Graham, 1977. I guess at the end of the day, I think a proposal like what I heard, it makes sense, and I don't hear anything to the contrary. I would think that the board would want to take something like that and not stick it in safety, because quite frankly, we've called for help with dogs that want to chase you down the street to having our automobiles move. Okay, so I mean, and the last time I talked to Earl, he said, "I'm sorry, I was on the plane."
So, you know, I get it, but we don't, everybody else has, Lawrenceburg is Lawrenceburg. Well, I live in Lawrenceburg. I know my taxes are in Miller Township. So I understand that I'm not paying the same amount of taxes that Lawrenceburg is paying. But well, right, we're paying more, but apparently now that we've got to keep piling on these other things, security is becoming a joke. Every kid, including my kids, thinks that we have a joke of a security. I have college kids, and now all their friends in high school, it's a joke. So we can say, oh, it's normal to have people that are out of shape being a security officer, because my wife says, and I'm a big guy, but I could at least run 100 yards in maybe 20 seconds. But there are some of these guys that can't. And how are they going to protect you if somebody's actually doing something in your house? Versus also trying to play the rest of us by saying, you know what, everybody gets drunk every once in a while, there's a pressure. We do not subscribe to saying, anybody want to say it's okay for a police officer to get drunk? To ever be inebriated on duty?
Mr. Grant, I never said that.
You did say that.
You did say that. You said it has.
If I put it out that way, I apologize because that's not what I meant at all. I've never subscribed to that. I've fired police officers for, doing less than that. What I'm trying to say is that it happens sometimes, and that shouldn't be. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be a reflection on the entire other group of people. Right.
And it's not an indictment on them, but it should be an indictment on us. So I think somebody ought to be able to take the proposal and do something with it rather than ignoring it.
And there is a committee for that.
It's called safety and security.
Safety and security.
This is more than safety.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
This is more than just safety. This is POA. This is financial. So,
sir, we work through a committee environment. That's how we get the information. They do the research. We have questions. They do more research. They come with us. That's how this community works, through committees. We cannot, 5 people cannot possibly do that without. And that can go through the committee, and if that's where we go, it will go on about. It will go on about.
The biggest thing, and kind of correct me if I'm wrong, anybody up here, because I've been here for a long time. We've gone through about 8 years and been back. We're a private community. We went through this years ago about turning this into a town. You know what? You guys both know. You know why? Because of the things you lose of being a private community. Being a private community, there's a lot of things we don't get from our cities and stuff, okay? So you have to decide what you want to give up. What we really want to give up is privacy stuff. What would we give up?
I'm not going to have my street sweep. I'm not going to have my sweep.
Yeah. You'll pay more taxes.
I know. Guess what? I don't know if necessarily I pay more taxes, because when I look at Lawrenceburg and I compare
their homes are nothing compared to the value of your house. 15% of everything Sherwood County is in this community alike. Look at the numbers.
I pay more taxes. All right.
Okay,
We're
so
gonna
yeah, move on.
you one day 400,000.
Oh, you want?
We'll take 2 more questions today. We have a lot more agenda we need to get through. We need to try to stay on time.
Yeah, these 2 last questions are just. And don't move from my point. No. Are you watching a video? Yeah. A meeting. It's just a meeting, Ella. Oh, go It has
Try to do
nothing
it.
to do with kids.
10 years with Homeland Security and, carried a security clearance with the federal government. And I'm a confident enough person to do due diligence on anything anybody brings. I've been the chair for maybe 3 months, so.
And who else is on the committee? Anybody else with this in the background?
What are they talking about?
And what kind of background do you have, ma'am?
I've been on the safety committee for over 20 years.
Okay.
And I've lived here for 25 years, and I know what's went in the past, and I was there when we voted to be a town. And there's a lot to say about being on committees for that long and the history. And the other lady standing back there has been on the committee the same as myself, and there's another one that's been on it for 20 years.
Do any of you women have backgrounds in this involved in what?
No.
Okay, so when this gentleman came,
FBI.
you live there or no?
He was a part of the committee in the past. He was
Because you're in
there,
the FBI doesn't mean.
but, I mean, I
Right.
think that what we're talking about right now, the specific proposal, I did my first time.
Right, that's good part. But my point is, so how is he not able to give a recommendation with the kind of background that he has?
Just saying, it has to go through the committee.
Okay, but the committee don't understand what he's trying to communicate because of their background. And I'm not trying to tell anybody, I have no police background. I wouldn't want to be on it. But the people that do have the background and want to be on the committee, they should be able to express and get.
Believe me, he expressed a lot.
And nothing that was agreed.
Nothing that made any real sense.
Okay.
Criminology class this year. Oh, no, oh, no.
I wanted to sit up and just tell you their name set.
Here's what we're gonna do, let's any more security questions, please go to after that, please. We need to move on with the next area. Jan,
I got it, but.
Jay,
So what is your name? It's amendment with 2833 So this seems to me to be an extremely important problem that everybody is pissed off about. And you guys keep saying, go to the Safety and Security Committee, go to this, go to that. Somebody on the Safety and Security Committee should get up and say, okay, we're gonna meet with you. Let's get something tonight. We'll meet after this meeting, we put our names together in the door. And I have been on the committees in this place, and they don't move things. Not at all. So they, it's not your regular little, let's get a docket for the kid about or something like that. But this is something that's important. And so the safety committee needs to address it tonight. And they
it's not meeting tonight, Jan.
no, but they can get the names of the people who want to meet in their contact. And they can get together and come up with something. And I don't necessarily think, and I'm not knocking anybody, but if you've been on a committee for a long time, you think the old way sometimes, and you need to think different.
Janice, they know when the safety committee's meeting, all they need to do is contact them or come to that meeting, is what they need to do. They're trying to circumvent safety and security because they don't like that committee.
Well,
That's what it's
somebody from the safety committee, and if you're still on the safety committee, then they need to reach out to them tonight, get their names and numbers, and let them know when the next
Janice, I was approached with this the other night. Hold on a minute. I was approached with this the other night, and I said, I have no problem with that. What you need to do is get the safety and security, give them a proposal to bring to the board. I was told, we ain't meeting with, Bonnie, please, we ain't meeting with social security, because they're a bunch of old ladies that don't know shit about anything. Alright? That's not how things get done right here. There's a problem. Try to address it through our channel, alright? Now, we're gonna move on to the committee report.
So I'm the chair for safety security. My email is in the echoes. or you can stop talking to me, send me an email, and, you know, if we meet the first Tuesday every month, most of the time up here at COA, posted on the calendar. If there's a slew of people that wanna meet and we gotta do something, you know, some other time, we'll work that out. You know, just email me and we'll get it together. I mean.
All right, we're gonna move on to the committee report. First up is Mr. Cross, the architect. Peggy, yours, sir.
Got my name. Good evening. Those that don't know, I am Tom Cross, the Architect Committee. To the board, we have 6 performance bond requests this evening for the board to consider. I will preface reading them by telling you that there are 0 dues, fines, or fees that are outstanding. I'll read them all and then ask the vote to vote on them in block.
That's fine.
All right, we'll start with lot number 1183. The address is 517 Cresthaven Drive, owners Brian Coleman and Shannon King, bond amount $500. Lot 637 and 638, located at 1384 Sunset Drive, Ivor and Dee Fick, or Fife, I hope I pronounced that correctly, bond amount $2,000. Lot number 2759, 2760, property located at 2081 Elmead Drive, Paul and Margaret Joyce, bond amount $2,000. Lot number 2541, located at 1713 Cove Circle East, Donna Jansen, bond amount $2,000. Lot 2074, located at 1508 Gravenhurst Drive, Donald and Jill Spielhauer, bond amount $500. And finally, lot number 460, located at 2063 Longview Drive, CJN Holdings Incorporated, bond amount $500. I would ask the board to grant these bond returns.
Do I have a first motion?
Jeff did.
Second?
I will.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all I have from the board. Does anyone have any questions for architecture? Thank you.
All right, Finance Committee, Kyle Packer. Is Kyle here or is someone giving his report for him?
No.
All right.
All right. You can't approve it?
Well, they didn't do any approval.
Oh, they didn't have a meeting, okay.
Future Planning Commission, Janice Nelson, please.
I'm Jan Becker, and I'm with the Future Planning Committee. We have been very busy. We have a new committee member, Wayne Meyer. Welcome, Wayne. Thank you. We currently have 5 major projects that we're working on. Project number 1 is the OLCA Convention. That's the Ohio Lakes Community Association. And they're going to be here. We'll be hosting their event on September the 13th and the 14th. We'll be presenting to this group over 2 days, and we'll do half-hour sessions that cover Hidden Valley POA topics like communication, financial, documentation, your calls, lakes management, social, safety, security, etc. And representatives from each committee will be giving these presentations and conducting questions and answer sessions for these people. Willis is helping with meals for the group. There's no number yet on our attendees, but we should know sometime maybe this week. We are looking for people who have pontoon boats that can help us with boat tours on the main lake on Wednesday evening, 9:13. These will be like after dinner type trips. They do start around 6:30 to 7. If you have a pontoon, we'd really appreciate your help. If you could call Dave and he'll give you the details, sign up. You just need to take the group around, show them the lake and the houses and all the different stuff.
Yeah, Janice, I did bring it up at the Lakes Committee too.
Okay,
They are
good,
aware of
good.
it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So in preparation for this visit, we're also planning the Hidden Valley Lake Cleanup Day, and that'll be on Saturday morning, 9/9. And George is gonna put the information online, so you'll have to check online for the exact place we meet. So project number 2 is the front entrance, the task force project. We're currently finishing up a refresh of the front entrance, and the work on this is going to continue for the rest of this year. We're working on creating refresh plans for the marina, beach, pool, golf club, community center areas, Willie's, and the 77-acre parks. We're going to make recommendations and they'll be presented to the board for consideration. Project number 3 we will help with the POA CME, which is the Community Master Plan expansion. There's a meeting planned in September to discuss this separate with George and the board. Project number 4, we are helping Pat Hawkins, who has agreed to continue working with the POA board to update current bylaws. Future planning will continue to assist with this and also in creating new bylaw materials. Project number 5 is the communication for the sports project. There are 9 different routes of communication for residents in Hidden Valley. They are fiber optics installation and marketing, POA website, which is WordPress, emailing network, which is MailChimp, text messaging, social media, which is Facebook, community forums, which is the POA website, Zoom meetings and communication, like tonight, echoes, and Hidden Valley entrance signboards. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much, Janice. Appreciate it.
Ken,
All right. Yes.
can you repeat the finance report? People online could not hear any, what was said. I'm not answering their questions. They could not hear what you said to finance.
Finance did not meet, therefore there is no report.
All right, next up, Eric Fox, Lakes Committee.
How you doing, Eric? Great, Ken. How about you? All right. Should be fairly quick. So, first reading the proposed bylaw, I don't like the word changes because we didn't really make a bunch of changes. I don't want it to sound like we changed rules. We didn't. What we were doing was going through and kind of correcting some of the language that's in there so that it makes more sense, aligning rules that have been displaced from rules that are kind of like rules and putting them together so it makes more sense when you read the rule book. Everything's kind of where it is. I don't know how we're going to do this, Pat, because there's a whole lot of.
There is a lot. Pat Hawkins, 671-680. A few months ago, when we did architecture, and I think it was future planning and judicial, I did a side-by-side what it used to be and what the proposed changes were, and people could not understand that. So what we've done is I sent all of the edited documents to Rich, and the changes are shown in either blue or red. And if you take a picture of that, it will take you to those bylaws and you can see how they have been cleaned up. And it's a first reading. If you have any concerns, any objections to the changes, you need to let Eric know, and Eric, of course, will let me know since I have it on my computer at home, and I'll make whatever necessary changes are. But that is it. And Rich, are you going to send this QR code out in a listserv? Yeah. People who are not here tonight can still look at them. And as Eric said, we're not seeking anything under the radar to you. We're just trying. It's like the old joke about a camel being a horse designed by a committee. These things were written over a period of years. There are things there that should be here and things there that should be here. And we're just trying to clean them up so it's easier for a normal human being who doesn't immerse themselves in this to understand.
So you want to go look for what the rules are on inflatable, toys in the lake. Everything should be in one section for you to see. So if you look at the rule book or you look at the proposed rules, everything is highlighted in color. Is a change or is different. So it should make sense. Again, we're not sneaking anything in right now. It's just really clarifying and moving things where they make sense.
So I don't know.
So basically, this is gonna go vote for the first time. Everybody gets to look at it, and then you do a second.
Yeah, we got issues and we'll address them next. Right. Yeah. And this is for fishing rules, which again are separate from the lakes rules. And again, same story with fishing.
Need somebody to second it.
Oh, you're gonna make the motion to look at the bylaws, but this is first reading. I'll second it.
Any questions? I mean, again, this is kind of a broad scope project for every area within the valley.
Diane Hayes, 2237.
Sure thing.
Question on the survey that went out, because I don't know if you're gonna get to it, but I was gonna say, but there is a problem with the random weight device things that aren't supposed to be on the lake, and we were out with my daughter and her husband, and I mean, it's going 5 miles an hour with a 10-foot weight behind it, completely swamps our pontoon boat, and Lake Patrol was on the other side on his phone, was driving away as this thing was just doing small donuts, just wrecking havoc and everything. So, and the survey was basically like, are you okay with having the weight device? Or, should we change it to allow it? And so I just want to know what the status of that was.
Well, I was going to address that here on the next thing. So the lake survey, and this is what I can tell you about it, is we did have a very robust response to the survey.
Eric, can we stop for just to vote about the bylaws?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Yes,
in favor? Aye. First reading, please go read it if you want to look at it, because if you want changes, please contact Eric so that next month will be the second, you'll know what they are.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. We skipped right there. You got me sidetracked. All right. So the lake survey, we had a very, very robust turnout on the survey. So the next step in that right now, we talked a little bit about next steps at the last Lakes Committee meeting. The survey closed, I think it was the Monday or the Sunday following that Lakes Committee meeting. So now the next step is verifying that the people who responded to the survey are actually valid respondents within the valley. So there's a process going through that.
That process is also done. Now the answers are being sifted through the forestry.
So that's kind of where we're at this point in the process. So, but I would say that if you're on the lake and and a situation arises like that, you really should keep the Lake Patrol phone number in your cell phone and call them and have them address that scenario quickly. Because again, you can't do anything if it isn't recorded and somebody is there to address. I get it, and I know it is what it is, guys. I mean, if they're not looking or they don't see it or what have you, I can't speak for the specific scenarios because I wasn't there. But that's what we would like you to do is contact the Lake Patrol and have them try to address that situation as quickly as possible. All right, moving along. Moeller Park, I brought that back up. The board wanted to kind of take a look at that scenario about renting Moeller Park docks. Again, the Lake Committee's recommendation is that we should begin renting those docks because it's a resource that people seem to want, and we're just not making use of it at this time.
Because if we're gonna do something, that's gonna be for next year anyway, right? You can see it right now.
We were talking about perhaps even allowing people to, again, very, very reduced rate allowing the rent standards.
Where is Moeller Park?
Moeller Park is past the beach. I guess that would be either north or east of the beach. So as you drive up the lake, it's on the right-hand side, and kind of there's a little crook in the lake, and you'll see about 6 docks kind of sticking out from the shoreline. That's a POA green space property. That has docks that we used to rent that we no longer do.
But there's boats parked there now.
There should be one parked there. If there are others parked there, there may be transient, but there's one person who has an agreement with the POA to lease that space for the time being.
Eric, that is on, we just haven't had time to address that, but we know that that's on our things to do.
It'll be back. And then the last thing, not confirmations, but confirmations, we are getting in the process of setting up for the fall. We had to postpone some things like we had an electric call for the slot fish, we had bait fish, and we had lake studies for the small lakes. So the two study, the electric call and the bait fish, we postponed that for the spring. So we are needing to get that dates confirmed for that. We're going to try and do that sometime around October-ish.
seemed to be about the best time to get that done. Again, the call first, bait fish after that, because we want to feed the fish that we're trying not to have in the lake. And then after that, we're going to do the electric fish study of all of our small lakes, because what we would like to do is our Fish and Game Club would like to be able to place the slot bass that currently are getting called out of the lake into the small lakes. Hopefully we can generate some fisheries there that people are putting, and we're not just necessarily getting rid of fish for getting rid of fish sake. That's it. Next question.
And Robert's 28. I've been curious, why was overcharged not?
You know, at some point the docks kind of were in disrepair, the steps were in disrepair. There used to be a shelter there. I don't know if you remember that. That's gone now. So it just became one of those things that at some point we felt like there might be liability issues concerning, people using that space. We do still have a waiting list. Well, again, the idea is if somebody would like to use it, there are caveats to being able to use it, right? So there's no parking to speak of there. It is a very steep set of lots to get up and down, and so you need to be able to address those concerns if you'd like to have that spot.
There 30 years ago.
Sure. And I'm just repeating it to say we're not really making any concessions like putting steps in. It's an as-is scenario. You're going to have to accept some of the terms for that.
What is the cost of having this electric count thing?
Well, the electric call is actually going to be paid for by the Fish and Game Club.
Okay.
The bait fish gets paid for out of our budget, out of the lake's budget.
What is bait fish?
Bait fish is fish that we put in the lake to feed the bass to help the bass population grow healthy. We have a real problem in this lake. Biologists that we hire to kind of study our lake from every couple of years, we've had a problem where the mid-tier fish, 9 to 13 inches, which you'll hear me refer to as slot fish, are just voracious appetite fish. They eat everything, and it's at the expense of the really big fish and the really small fish that are trying to grow. So we have to address that scenario. One of the conclusions we've come to is bait fish helps the big fish get what they need to continue to grow.
What is the cost of that, though?
It's about $6,000. And then the studies that we do, the electric fish studies, are not a regular thing. That's like every 3 years we do the study.
That's $6,000 a year. That's
Which?
$6,000 for those bait fish.
Yeah. Yes, that's correct. And then we have the electric fish studies are, I believe, in the range of about $5,000.
And that's just to cover the people that like to fish.
Well, I wouldn't say that's necessarily true. I think if you have a healthy ecology in the lake, it makes a big difference to your using the lakes. There certainly is benefit to somebody who wants to fish, but everybody benefits from the healthy lake.
One other question about other bass tournaments.
Yeah.
Other bass tournaments. Are the only boats that go in our lakes during the bass tournaments people that have stickers on their boats from here?
Yes.
Are you allowed?
If anybody's fishing in a bass tournament, that boat has to be a registered boat.
That's good. Okay,
And
thanks.
I thought you were asking if the only boats on the lake are allowed to be bass boats. The answer to that is also
No, I know. I have a punch in.
shit.
Came for 2769. What was the purpose of that survey?
Purpose of the survey is to kind of get a feel of the general community on what our lake usage looks like and how we feel about the way it's being used and governed today.
But I mean, it was addressing like waste trade.
It's a piece of it, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't understand why we were doing a survey about something that's supposed to be illegal.
The wake boat itself is not illegal.
The boat is, but the use of artificial waste makers.
We can have that discussion, lake committee if you want to have that discussion. Right now, I'm not going to get on the road about, what it means to read it a certain way or not a certain way. That's kind of what we're up against right now is the interpretation of that rule varies depending on how you look at it.
I thought it said it's no artificial.
That's your read of it, yeah. Okay. That's good. It's not everybody's read of it, and that's why we are where we are, because the rule is kind of vague. It's not specific enough. Any other questions?
Thank you. Cool. Amy Ayers, Wilson, you're up now, Park Department. Still here, Amy?
Quick. Same thing for Parks and Rec, we just cleaned up some of the bylaws, nothing major, I think we took off.
You don't have to shower anymore before you get
There you go, the health department doesn't require that, so it's not a bylaw, you won't get.
Apparently at one time that was a board of health
Right,
requirement.
that was.
And we just went with it, but they got rid of it.
Right.
I don't think
So
anybody
we'll-
does it, so.
So there's just little things, if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact me. All of that information's on the QR code, real simple stuff, there wasn't a whole lot there. The pool will close.
Wait a minute, you
Oh,
wanna give
oh,
us-
oh, yeah.
Thank you. And I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, the pool will close September 30th, there is lap swim 11 to 12. If anybody would like to exercise, there's a lot of people doing a lot of physical therapy at that time. It will be open on the weekends, 12 to 8. What we found is, our seasons are changing a little bit, and September's pretty hot. So we're kind of limited on how long we can be open because the kids go back to school, so we're fortunate to have some kids that want to make some money on the weekends, and the pool will be open. Labor Day, they will be closing at 6 o'clock. Okay. And you can find all those hours, it'll be on the Hidden Valley website if you guys need to check, or you can call the pool, and they'll be more than happy to let you know. We have Georgetown, the Greendale Council has approved to do a cleanup for Georgetown Road on the 7th. So that will be from 9 to 12. The experience we've had on State Line is hopefully we get a lot of volunteers and we will not be out there for much. We were on State Line maybe a couple hours, so we were able to open up the road quickly after we got all the trash picked up. So if anybody would like to volunteer, all the information will be on the website as well. And again, that is October 7th. I talked to John Fox, he's gonna let us do a little parking down there on Georgetown, and then we will park up at, I guess it'd be the golf course kind of maintenance right there at the corner of Georgetown and Fairview. Overflow can always go into the dog park as well. That's it for me. Unless anybody's got any questions.
Mr. Gross, you're on. Sorry, David.
Grossly, 114 Civic Club. Hopefully everybody had a good time at the luau. Yes. Or we could do that. Okay. Who attended the luau? Cool. Appreciate all the support. So any suggestion on doing anything different, just let us know for sure. A little lightly attended, but it was different events like at the same time. So Labor Day Bash coming up a week from Sunday. It's a free event for kids and adults. Magician, face painting, vendors, just kick back in the summer. So it's right across the ball field here. Again, it's free. Stuff. Tailgating, we got chili cook-off is coming on October 8th, and there's going to be a Bengals game that day, so we're going to have a tailgating on that day, probably some others as well, depending on the schedule we have that all together. So the second annual Christmas tree lighting, that was a fun event last year. I thought the kids just walk around and it's kind of be a kid again with lights and stuff, so it's right here in the gazebo area. So that's what we've got, and then of course the boulder dip. How many people have gone to that? So anything, any new ideas of different concept for events, just let us know. The meetings are the third Tuesday at 7 o'clock. All any questions?
You're also looking at it still there. All right, do we have any old business at this time? Any new business at this time?
There is a, well, sorry. My name's Jan Messer, Lake Retreat in, at the park, the ball field, the women's band room. The step is about this high. Wheelchairs can't get over it. They need to put like a concrete system, right thing built up like they did in front of that, where the refreshing center is.
Give you better access.
Yeah,
Or access.
or they could buy a metal one on, Amazon or something and just bolt it to the concrete.
Mr. Winston's making notes of that as we speak.
It's a nice thing.
It wasn't on the agenda for some reason. Dave Bushmore, what do you got for us? Come on. Thank you, George.
Again, if you have anything safety, security related, my email address is in the echoes. It's hvl.bushmiller, spelled like the 2 meters of email. Give me an email and, you know, we'll do what we can, you know what I mean? I don't really have anything to do this month block. I'm just stating the obvious because we're still awaiting feedback on that, but it's still on our agenda. Election panel, you'll see that work is still ongoing. Probably we'll see a little more news on that next month. Reminder for Halloween trick or treat that we are going to close Lakeview from the east full entrance to the Longview intersection for Halloween trick or treat for the safety of the kids because it's a very congested area there. And reminder, if you're a resident and you have to get home, whatnot, if you have your ID or whatever, you will be able to pass through it. It's not closed to get to your house necessarily, but please use your best discretion and caution if you are one of those exceptions. So the beach, I'm still working on getting a quote for that signage that we talked about last month. But in addition to that, I spoke with Parks and Rec, and they would like to see a sign put advising no swimming off of the dock that's down there because they're concerned with the safety. There's kids using that to swim and jump off of, and that's not a great situation. So I would look for that sign to be added to the request once I get some good quotes together for that. So you can probably see that next week too. And I think that's it. Is there another one? That's it.
Thank you. Sorry you got skipped over. Any new business from the floor?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
1604 Julie Hewitt. I've asked this 3 months in a row. I'm going to ask it one more time. You're assessing us $300. It's going to amount to $617,000. Are we going to refund the emergency portion of our budget, the $404,000 that should have been in there and kept in there? And what are we going to do with the extra $213,000?
What do you mean by are we going to
Refund or just, you mean,
Are we going to? We don't have a $404,000 emergency fund, right?
right, and you said refund.
Are we going to replenish it? With
Yes,
the
yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And what is going to? You're getting more than the $404,000 from the assessment.
Make it simple. The $404,000 will go to emergency management fund, which is equal to 2 months of operating expense. That will be in a separate account. All right. use for that in a true emergency.
And is it gonna be put into something that,
Yes.
will be
That will
like a
be-
money market
Yes.
account? Yes. Okay, and what are we gonna do with the 213?
217 or 213, or that will go into the capital improvement fund, which will also be for future projects, which will also be separated, and it will be in an account that will go into.
Okay,
Both of those are.
good. Because I know that hasn't been done in the past.
It is
Correct.
being done now.
It is being, we had three
Let me
operating.
put it this way, no one in the past did anything egregious or
No,
embezzled money.
I have
or
never
like
said
that.
that you have.
No, I'm just saying, with rumors and things, you see stuff, you hear stuff. Everything is in separate pots being accounted for now with the interest bearing, Jonathan Cronin and cost, he's on finance. That's what's being done.
I have somebody that is a certified accountant look at the books, and her assessment of it is that the books aren't being kept in an accurate way. And I want to know and I know Marla's doing the best job she does. She's I'm sure a good employee. But do we need to get a certified accountant into the office to work with her, set up a budget in each department, and run this community the way that most businesses are?
We're looking at every bit of that, every aspect of it, all right?
John, would you like to add to that?
We are audited each year.
Well, yeah, but an audit isn't running the books the way.
I do understand that, but at least it gives you some assurance that accounting
Yeah,
principles are being
we've looked
applied.
at it. We've looked at it.
We've got multiple people, including John, that, recently got on the committee, past 3-4 months.
We're starting to improve things and looking at things, and
They
we realize there were issues.
Yeah.
Of this
But
area.
would it be helpful to get a certified accountant or somebody, even if it's somebody in this community that would be offer their services to work with, the board or the office and get a good budget together?
I mean, that's what the volunteers do. I mean, I don't know what to say. I was somebody working with Marla.
Again, Julie, we're on your side. We're volunteers. We're residents just like you.
I
It's in our best interest.
That's why I'm asking the question.
It's in our best interest not to let the ship sink either.
Right, I
All right?
understand that.
And also, we're working hard towards that goal.
We're also putting them on the website.
Very competent finance people that do have background in finance that are helping the board.
I mean, putting it available on the website, because when all this went down, you try to go out and look at budgets and audits, and it's random. This random year, and then a random budget, and then a random month thing, and it is not consistent at all. I mean, this should be consistent and transparent.
Anything you need to know, you can get the information will be provided to you. If what you see in the echoes isn't sufficient for you, make an appointment, come down, and you'll be shown anything you need to see. No one's hiding anything. We're above board, going forward, everything is split up, separate pots. We don't have anything to hide. So it's that simple. If you got questions, ask them, come to the
I
office.
understand, it's in the echoes, but I'm not saving monthly newsletters. We have a website, and that website has a place that you're supposed to go to, and it says, here you will find the budgets, here you will find the audits, and they're not there. So
Yeah, they have.
they're very sporadic.
You go into financial reports under POA, and you get everyone. Check it out.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Yes, sir. The name and lot number, please.
Mike Jones, 4275, 1877. Got a question. I run a major, or am one of the heads of a major corporation. I got over 200 people. Sometimes bad decisions got to be made. When we're losing money, it requires money off, and instead of or cut back on the job. But what's taking place right now with money being down, is there any cutback that you guys are making? Because I see in the salary, there's outrageous salaries going on here. And from what I'm seeing, you're asking me to fork out $300, but nobody's giving up anything.
And free insurance.
Yeah, but Julie, I heard Julie say free insurance.
Oh, yeah.
There is free insurance.
I'm not worried about the free insurance. The salaries that we're paying are.
They pay a portion of their premium. The employees do. The employees are not getting free insurance. They pay their portion like every other employer has their employees pay a portion.
That wasn't the discussion.
I understand, but she was in the background
Okay.
stating that, so I just wanted that.
Yeah, I mean, making decisions.
Go on,
Yeah, that's Grant.
I'm gonna stand up because I'm freezing.
No, it's not.
Otherwise, I'll be sure. Now, one of the first things we did, we asked Dave for the job description of every employee that we have.
Can you speak up, please?
Yeah, I'll read it in complex of that. But we did ask Dave, and he did provide the job descriptions of every employee that we have. Okay. Now, this board, I've been on 3 months, Don is fairly new, and people have been here before, but it's a lot to get caught up with. What does this person do? The job description says this, this, and this. Well, how many things are we doing, and what else? You know, that's a lot to go through, folks. And what I would say is, do get it. Well, we need your help. There's a lot of documentation. There's a lot of stuff there. And what we don't want to do is just go making statements. Well, we've got too many people. We're going to lay off 3 people, right? Because then people start looking for another job, and you might still want them. You might want them for something else. You might actually need them. So we're trying to not make any rash judgments on that. On the healthcare thing, 2023 was a pretty high year. Okay, one of the things we looked at, finance committee did a ton of work on this. We saw a bunch of proposals on the healthcare. 2024 is going to be cheaper. Is it as cheap as we want? No. We have set the stage that that's probably not going to be the package that we have next year. We don't know what the package is going to be, so we don't think it's going to be that. We understand that's a lot. Guys, I work for a company that provides group benefits. I'm an executive officer. My benefits package is not that good. We get it. Okay? And we are looking at this stuff, but it takes time. We're all volunteers. The finance committee's volunteer. Yes, we need any volunteer with that expertise to help. Please do. And I'll say this too. If you feel like you're not getting a response from a committee, they're ignoring you, you're not in love or whatever, make an appointment with the board in that executive session and come and let us know these things. But the idea is, yes, we're interested in the proposals. You know, we are interested in these things, but we're volunteers. We are dealing with a million things on this stuff. And I do apologize that we can't just take every subject every minute of every day when we want to talk about it. But we do want to hear you. We really ask you to follow that process. We are looking at this stuff, and we do very much need your help. And that's all I would say. So the answer is no consent. You're asking me to pay $300. We're still looking. If I got to pay $300, somebody can get a concession because I'm paying to pay these outrageous wages that you guys are paying. There's a lot of matter of opinion on what an outrageous wage is. Sir, I got 200 people on me in a union shops. I know what an outrageous wage is. Okay. I'm not sure who you're talking about. I'd love to hear what you think that job is. I'd love to talk to you about it. Please make an appointment with us and talk to us. Go to the finance. We want to hear that because, you know, not all of us have all 200 people. You know, people like you have that expertise. We want to hear it.
Thank you. Grant, if I can just add something to what you said. Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we looked at the wages, just a little background, when I took over as board president, what was routine at that time was that every year Mr. Keller penciled in a 6% increase for employees. Now, I, of course, was seeing the value of my IRA go down. I'm old enough now to get Social Security. I said, this is bad crap. You know what? And so we eliminated that and we pegged it to the cost of living. But then Donna and I reached out to other government agencies here. We weren't looking
You're not
at
government agency.
No, well, in a sense, we
You're
are.
not a government agency.
Well, sir, hear me out. We are not a private industry in that you are a union shop that makes something to sell to someone. This is the government of a private community. You may disagree with me if you wish, and that's fine. But we reached out to Greendale, to Lawrenceburg, to Aurora. What are they paying people in comparable positions? We are not that far up.
Those are government agencies. You are not a government agency.
I also, as of last year, we also did go to private companies.
We did. When we were benchmarking, yes, what they were giving is increases.
So we do try to do our due diligence when it comes. And you have to remember, apples to apples sometimes is difficult to do when you look at hourly people, what are you responsible for versus what, but we did reach out to private companies last year.
And I've got controllers and everything else. I know what you think.
Again, granted.
I would love to sit down with Grant. It's like,
That's very.
but we can't say that this is a government agency. It's not.
But yeah, if they reached out to Dearborn County, which I worked for up until a month ago, the clerk of courts makes $59,000 a year and been in there 20 years. I work with the first level deputy in the courts, in the clerk's office, who'd been there 18 years, and she made $39,000 a year. So,
And it's all public.
and that's all public. So I'm not sharing anything. It's all public record. You got to do that. So, you're not benchmarking it against Dearborn County, and if anybody's making more than 40 grand a year. So,
And they are.
Okay.
All right, can I have a motion for adjournment, please?
Thank you all.